She's back again, and she's still giving your favorite beauty guru the side eye. Hello, Champagne Dreamers. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. I don't know how you found me, but I hope you'll hit that subscribe button and stick around. We have a lot of fun here. My name is Janessa, and I am North Dakota's trash queen of glam, geek, and gore. And for today's video, we are doing the third installment in my series, more Black-owned makeup brands that are not Fenty or Pat McGrath. I love shopping from indie brands. I love looking for brands that are owned by communities that are not always fairly represented in the makeup industry, in society. And so I love Black-owned makeup brands. I love Native-owned makeup brands. I love queer-owned makeup brands. I'm here for it. Bring on the indie products. I love to try them out. So I have 8 more brands that are not Fenty or Pat McGrath that we're going to talk about today. If you're excited to learn about these fabulous Black-owned makeup brands, then stick around because we're getting into it right now. Alright, so those of you who don't remember the dark early days of the Panda Express 2020, one of the things that popped up on YouTube when I first started my channel was that a lot of people started doing the Black-owned makeup brand challenge. And they did it because of George Floyd, because of more attention being paid to police brutality and inequality and white supremacy, and because of Charlene Shooter from Oma Beauty started the Pull Up for Change, where she really challenged people in cosmetics companies to be public about how many people in your company are people of color, how many people in executive positions are people of color. So there was a lot of discussion about being able to support Black-owned makeup brands and really giving them some more attention, which is great, except one thing that I noticed is that a lot of the prominent YouTubers who were doing this, especially the prominent white YouTubers, for a lot of them, the only Black-owned makeup brands that they had were either Fenty or Pat McGrath. If there was a third, it was sometimes Juvia's Place. So here's the problem with that. Nothing against any of those brands. All of those brands are great. But Fenty, Rihanna doesn't own Fenty. That's a Kendo brand. She's a part owner. There was some discussion on one of Jen Love's lives where she was showing off some things about cosmetics companies, and it looks like Rihanna owns 15% of Fenty Beauty, but she's not the full owner. Now, no shade to her. I do love a lot of things from Fenty Beauty, but it doesn't really fit that criteria then. Also, Pat McGrath, that is absolutely a Black-owned makeup brand, but Auntie Pat is doing fine. Mother. Everybody knows Pat McGrath. She doesn't need any more promotion. She doesn't need any more attention in these YouTube streets. It's not really going to help to be promoting her brand. Juvia's Place is one of those brands that was an indie brand and was kind of a darling of the indie community for a long time, but they've even gotten a lot bigger. That's why a lot of those YouTubers, if they had a third brand, it was often Juvia's Place, because you can find them in Ulta now, and they're much more prominent than they used to be. All of those brands are great. All of those brands are represented in my collection, but I wanted to highlight other Black-owned makeup brands that maybe aren't as well known. So we're going to talk about 8 of them. We're going to go through, and we're going to start with the one that I said in the last video that I wanted to try. Each time that I've done these videos before, there's always a few brands that I say, I want to check this out before my next video. So let's start with that one. The first brand is Black Cosmetics, and that's B-L-A-Q-E Cosmetics. And that is one that I had said I wanted to try, and I did pick up the Black Power 2 palette. I'm kind of guessing because I cannot find it. So I'm all moved into my office and things are mostly back to normal, but I tried to look for it and I thought I knew where it was. I thought I knew what drawer it was in, and it's just not there. So I've been looking around. I know I have it here somewhere, and I do really like it. I did a review of it. That's one that I've had for a while, and I did a review on janessaj.com back in the second version of my website that's no longer there, unfortunately. But I really did like it. It's a beautiful pink color story, and it's a lot of fun. Now, they don't have a lot of product releases. I've kind of checked back on them, and they've put out a few new things, but they're not super prolific. But I hope that they start developing some new things, putting out some more things, because the palette that I tried was really beautiful. It had some really gorgeous colors. You could make some really beautiful, dreamy, romantic looks. If you like all of those berry, pink, purple kind of palettes, the Black Power palette too is a great option. And not only does it pay tribute to a couple of trans icons with some of their shade names, but it also is in honor of breast cancer awareness. So I really love Black Cosmetics. I'm excited to see what else they do. The next brand that I want to talk about is one that's not entirely new, but it is, but it isn't, but it is. So in my top beauty of 2021 video, I know it's cold tea, but I'll go ahead and link it here. I talked about how shocked I was that my favorite product of 2021 was the Oma Beauty Say What foundation. And I am still in love with this. I have no less than 2 bottles of this in my office. I always have a backup. I love this. This is such an easy go-to. If I have a photo shoot, I know it's gonna look beautiful in the pictures. If I wanna do just a quick, easy face for YouTube, I know it's gonna be beautiful. I love this, and they are always having sales. It's normally $40. I will, even if I had to, if I was in a pinch and was using up the last of my backup, my last backup, I would buy one at $40, but I always find one on sale. But now I don't even need to do that, because Oma Beauty has launched an offshoot brand at Walmart called Oma Beauty by Sharon C. And this is their foundation, and this is only $14. And this is every bit as good as the Oma Beauty foundation. I will say there seem to be fewer shades, and the color numbering and the descriptions, it's harder to find your shade and the correct undertone. You know, with that drugstore world, it's a little bit scaled down, especially for me as somebody who has a cool pink undertone. I had a hard time finding a good match, but once I did, this, flawless IRL is what they call this. This is only $14. Such a good foundation. I'm so glad that if I were to go somewhere and I forgot my foundation, I could run to Walmart and have a beautiful, beautiful option for less than 20 bucks. How good is that? The next brand that I want to talk about is Clarity Cosmetics. Clarity Cosmetics has some really beautiful eyeshadow palettes. Now, word on the street, the gossip, the tea that's going around is everybody thinks that they probably buy their products from the same place that Give Me Glow Cosmetics buys them from, because the shadows are very similar and the consistency is very similar, the pan design very similar. And you know what? That's fine with me, because I think that we have this idea that everybody's like got their own factories making everything themselves, and it's just not the case. There are factories out there and they work with different companies and they do different formulations and different options that they have available, and it's fine as long as they're buying good quality product to label and sell as their own. I don't know why people have to get so upset about it. And if it is the same place, I fucking love Give Me Glow. So why wouldn't I love Clarity Cosmetics too? I am here for it, and they have some great palettes. In my best of 2022 beauty, I talked about their Apocalypse palette, which was a Halloween release, and it was one of my favorite products of the year. If you want to see what award it got, check out the video right here. But I have a few other palettes from Clarity Cosmetics as well. This is the Bloom palette, and this is a gorgeous, deeper, richer... This makes me think of the perfume Poison by Dior. Like, it just feels very rich, very velvety. It's got these teals and these navies and this kind of more plum into like a rose gold. It's just such a beautiful color selection. So gorgeous. I love it. They have the Cobra palette. How was I not going to love a palette called Cobra? I hate snakes, but I love green. And these are some beautiful greens indeed. I love this. I need to have more makeup play days, because so far these pans look almost pristine because all I've done is like swatch them. And if I'm not swatching for my website and I'm not in a hurry, I'm such a careful swatcher, but I love these, and they really do feel like those buttery, soft, melting shimmers from Give Me Glow. I absolutely love it. And a pastel palette that really sold me on the brand. The So Mermazing, which is kind of a cheesy name. And just a beautiful set of pastel, matte and shimmer shades that just have so much depth and so much pigment. This is pastel done right. These are so pigmented that people with darker skin tones can get a beautiful, beautiful pastel look. There are some people who will say that people of color, black people, people with darker skin tones just can't do pastels. It's not true. It's all about how much of that color pigmentation is in there. If it's chalky and sheer, then yeah, that's not going to work for someone with a deeper skin tone. It's barely going to work on pale bitches like me and people who are even lighter, but because our skin is basically translucent, you can put a more sheer, chalky shadow and get more of the color because your skin is like a white eyeshadow base. But if you have something that's pigmented and has real color to it, you can get a beautiful look on all different kinds of skin tones. So I really love this. I know it's a little bit of a cheesy name, but it won't go down easy if it ain't cheesy. I'm never gonna get tired of that. Never. The next brand that I want to talk about is Glamgoth Beauty. I love this. There are some people who think that there aren't black people who are goths. Of course there are. The goth scene, obviously it's not for me. I'm a little bit too colorful. I know there are like pastel goths and things, but I'm not really goth, but I love Glamgoth Beauty, and I love them especially for their Hopeless Romantic blush palette. I love a blush palette. Give me lots of options, lots of beautiful colors. And look at these. Look at that beautiful like popsicle red. Look at this like violet with almost like blue sparkle. This is almost like an eyeshadow, but it's a beautiful blush that just blends out and gives you such an interesting color. These like purple shades, another red, this beautiful hot pink. I love it. And I also picked up one of their eyeshadow palettes, and it seems like Lily Munster got her groove back. So the Lily Munster palette, obviously not licensed. They've clearly tried to work in some details so you can recognize it, but it's not technically Lily Munster, it's Lily Munster. If you want to hear my feelings on that absolutely atrocious Rob Zombie movie that was licensed, check that out here. But this is the Lily Munster palette. These are kind of fun. These are a little bit more typical kind of indie, maybe private labeled shadows. They're still good, but they're not as good as some other brands, but they're still fun. And it's a nice collection of darker, more grungier shades. Of course, there's a couple greens. I love me some greens. I love pink. I love this bright aqua. I love a red eyeshadow. So there's some interesting colors in here. And I was like, you know what? I need to play with this more to see how I really feel about it. But just kind of swatching and playing a little bit. So far, I have good thoughts about it. So this is from Glamgoth Beauty. Next up is a brand that I found through Instagram, The Candy Store. And they have lots of fun candy, sweet, fruit-themed makeup. Now, I don't think they've got their aesthetic 100% together, but I do think they have some fun products. This is the Peach Rings palette. Now, I love peach rings. I love gummy candies. If I had to choose between chocolate and like fruity gummy candy, I would pick fruity gummy candy over chocolate. I mean, clearly, look, a bitch is not turning down nothing for snacks, but if I had to choose between fruity or chocolatey, I would pick fruity. I love peach rings, but look at this cover. The entire palette is pink. There is not a single peach, yellow, orange, anything that looks like a peach ring in here. Now, I love pink. That's why I ordered this, because I do love pinks. I love pinks and reds. And so this is a beautiful color story, and I'll play with it and I'll get some use out of it. But I'm just like, why peach rings? I know you're trying to like theme it around candy, but there's lots of pink candies. Why didn't you make a pink candy? And on the inside, instead of a mirror, it says peach bubble. There's also no peach in here, but what's the bubble? Why is it a peach bubble? I don't understand. And I thought, when I play with this, let's go ahead and do a full look. And here's another place where I'm going to say that I don't know that they've got their brand identity completely worked out. I picked up a lip kit that had a liquid lipstick and a liner and a gloss. Now, if you look at the gloss, and the gloss is separate, so the lip kit was just the liquid lipstick and the liner. The gloss is in this cute little package that looks like a wrapped up candy. It's so good. Now, the lip kit was the bubblegum lip kit, but look at the component that the lipstick is in. It's got this like gold piece at the top and a fake diamond. What does that have to do with the candy store? Because it would be one thing if you called them like the ring pop lip kits or something. And maybe this had like a colorful gem. And then you were trying to play off the idea of like ring pops. But this clearly is supposed to look like gold, blingy jewelry. But then it's the bubblegum lip kit and it's the candy store. So I think that they've got some fun concepts and some fun ideas. I think they maybe just haven't completely solidified their brand identity. But I'm excited to play with these, do a pink look with the palette, and then bring in some pink lips and just see how it all performs. The next brand that I want to talk about is one that I found through a live chat on my friend's YouTube channel, and that is Makeup by Torrance. Check out our collab right here. It was the first collab I ever did, and I'm so excited. I adore Torrance. And people were talking about this brand that they kept calling Pimby. P-I-M-B-Y. Pimby. Did you get your Pimby order? How do you like your Pimby palette? How are things going with the Pimby? And I'm like, what the fuck is a Pimby? It turns out that Pimby is an acronym for Playing in Makeup by Yolando. So that is a black-owned makeup brand. It's an independent brand, and they have some big, fun palettes. I could have ordered a lot of different color stories. There was a lot of rainbowy kind of palettes, a lot of really beautiful things, but I decided to check out a palette that is really making me ask the question, is there such a thing as too much green? I love green makeup, but I found a palette from Playing in Makeup by Yolando called the Color Scheme Pro 777. This is a big old palette. I don't know if it's still available. Some of their stuff seems to come and go. Some of it seems to be permanent. I'm not really sure which this is. But here you can see there's a little stripe of green, but we've got some red, some orange. Let's open this bitch up. Now, I love green. I love green. I'm always looking for green. I never thought I would ask the question, is there such a thing as too much green? And I think this palette makes me ask that question. And it's so big that I really need to take some time. I've played with a couple of the shades, and it's pretty good. I do like the quality, but I need more time to really dig in. I need to have a makeup play day where I can do a couple of eyes that are different and wash them off and do a couple more eyes. Because there's some of these shades that look really similar. And I know that sometimes with palettes there are similar shades, but maybe when you put them on they've got an undertone. Now I love them because I love greens, but I just am wondering where that brick red and the orange from the palette, where did that go? I do love a bright pop of yellow. I love these hot pinks. There are these kind of purple colors. There's a blue, couple blue turquoisey kind of shades. But there isn't really an orange or a red. So I am confused by how the packaging relates to what's inside. But when I saw this color story, I was like, I have to try this. I have to find out if even I have my limits on what is too much green. Now, the next two brands are brands that I just recently got into my collection. Usually I like to have at least swatched a few shades or played a little bit before I talk about a brand, but it's still letting you know that they're out there and that they exist. These are two new brands that I've gotten into my collection recently, and I'm planning to have a whole makeup play day where I do a full face of black-owned makeup brands, because between this brand and the next one and the other ones on this list, I have a full face with no problem. And the first one of the two is Matic Cosmetics. I picked up the Graffiti palette. Now, I know getting a makeup brand started is hard, it's expensive. Everything that you customize is just a little bit more expense added on. You're trying to make money. I do have to say with this one, I was a little disappointed in how it was packaged, because here you can see the box. It's the Graffiti palette. We've got this beautiful kind of art sketch on the front of this graffiti logo. Very beautiful with this cartoon spray can. Gorgeous, right? And just a plain shiny black. I get it. I get it. People are getting started. It's new. It's expensive. You have to spend your money where you think it's going to make the most. And maybe it was cheaper to make custom boxes than to make a custom wrap for this palette. That I can understand, but I feel like unless it was a really big difference, it was much more bang for your buck to go for the colorful box and just put it in a plain white or black package. Like, I don't know who keeps their palettes in boxes. I certainly don't. But I do think that it's fun, and I do think that this really is what the packaging promises. The graffiti logo that's on the front of the box really does look like this, with this hot pink and a couple of fun greens and this yellow and blue. There's a couple neutrals to kind of balance it all out. I think it looks fun, so I'm excited to play with this. I don't really know anything about the formula, so definitely be on the lookout on JanessaJaye.com to get an update on how these actually performed. Now, before we get to the last brand that I want to talk about, I want to give myself a place to start for the next video. So in every video, I've talked about brands that I want to explore in the future, and as I was researching and as I was looking for new brands, there were a couple that stuck out to me. The first is Oma Cosmetics. Obviously, I've known about this one for a long time. This was started by supermodel Iman, who is glorious and elegant and beautiful. I have always seen her products, but I've never tried one. And I was like, you know what? Let's set the challenge. Before we get to the 4th installment, we're going to try Oma Cosmetics. And there's another smaller indie brand called Babs Cosmetics. B-A-A-B-S. Babs Cosmetics. I think that they had some fun, colorful things, and I'm excited to play with some color, get some fun eyeshadows, maybe some interesting liquid lipsticks. I found them pretty late into the process of preparing for this video, so I was like, you know what? We don't really have time to order that in and get it in before we film, so let's go ahead and put that in as a challenge for the next video. And now let's go ahead and move on to the last brand on my list. And the last brand that I want to talk about is another brand that I decided to try some complexion products from. I picked up the foundation from Laws of Nature Cosmetics. Now, I did spray this out of my hand a little bit, and I do think it's going to be too dark for me, but I can usually correct that with a concealer. Now, I used their foundation matcher on their website, and it recommended this shade. This is the shade Almond, and this, I think, there's only like 12 shades, and there's very few light shades, which is just fine, because there are plenty of brands that over-cater to me and my pasty white ass, so I'm not going to be mad about that for a black-owned makeup brand to not have as many light shades, but there were 3 kind of at the bottom in the lighter shades, and I was looking at number 2, but then I used the little foundation matcher on the site, and it said number 3, and I was like, well, let's buy the one that they recommend and try it. And it is definitely too dark. So if I like this foundation, I will probably at some point pick it up in the number 2 to try that out. But I was like, you know what? I'm just trying it out. If I don't like it, I'll just use it for fun play days and stuff. It's not that deep. It doesn't matter. And I can always lighten it up with their concealer. So this is the concealer in the shade Rose Light. So the other problem with the foundation is that it looked like it had maybe a little bit more of an orangey golden undertone. And since this is a rose tinted concealer, this can hopefully help kind of bring some more of that cool pink vibe into my skin if I blend this into some of the foundation. So I'm not worried about it. I'm excited to play with it and see what happens, but this is the concealer. And then I've been living for an orange blush, so I picked up one of their blush sticks. This is in Coral Crush, and so it's a beautiful orange with some like pinky notes. So I think this is going to be fun. I'm planning a whole orange look because let me tell you, I have a Pat McGrath foundation that Sephora had mislabeled on their website. So instead of buying the cool undertone, I accidentally bought the warm undertone. She real orange. So I'm going to do a whole orange look where I bring in this Jacqueline bronzer that I bought that's way too orange for me. I'm going to bring in an orange blush, and I'm just going to do like white lady in Malibu, over tanned, fake bake orange look. I am super excited to play around with that. So I love an orange blush. I'm going to try that with that look, and that'll be up for a Face Friday on JanessaJaye.com in the future. But for now, I'm just excited to try out Laws of Nature Cosmetics. All right, that is the video. That is 8 more black-owned makeup brands that aren't Fenty or Pat McGrath. or Juvia's Place. I hope you enjoyed it. If you know of other Black-owned makeup brands that I should be trying, let me know in the comments. I'm always looking for more brands to try. And if you know other minority-owned brands, so I talked about recently that I found Prados Beauty, which is a Native American-owned brand. I would love to find more Native American-owned brands. I mean, maybe not that one that was pushing an autism palette, because that's not any kind of scandal that I want to get involved in. But I would love to know about it. I love queer-owned makeup brands. I love all different kinds of things. I would love to know more about people who are not always represented in the beauty space starting their own makeup brands. If you know fat people that are starting makeup brands that are doing interesting things, let me know. I would love to see it. I'm all about indie brands and trying things from unexpected places. While you're down there, don't forget to give me that thumbs up to let me know that you like this video. Or if I forgot your favorite brand and you are just salty with me, then go ahead and give me that thumbs down. You know what? It's all engagement. The algorithm's not a picky bitch, and neither am I. Also, while you're down there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads. I try really hard to make sure that I have at least one video a week. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you might even get a bonus video. Ooh, representational. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box below, including a link to my website, The World of Champagne, at JanessaJ.com. Thank you so much for watching. I love finding new brands and telling you about them. Hopefully, a lot of these products will end up in reviews over on JanessaJ.com, so make sure you're checking out that site and looking at the makeup and lifestyle section for which products I've reviewed. Maybe they'll show up in future videos as well. But I have a good time. I'm always looking for new brands, so let me know your favorites. And until I see you again, bye. You ready to go? You don't have to fart or call me a dummy or anything? You ready? And she's still giving your favorite booty guru. Next up is a brown that I found.